Reverend Norbert Čapek conceived of the first Unitarian flower communion over 100 years ago in 1923. The call to worship this morning is a prayer that was written by him. In the name of Providence, which implants in the seed the future of a flower, and in our hearts the longing for people to live in harmony, in the name of the highest, in whom we move and who makes the parents, the siblings, the lover, and the loner what they are, in the name of the sages and great religious leaders who sacrificed their lives to hasten the coming of the age of mutual respect, let us renew our resolution sincerely to be real brothers and sisters, regardless of any kind of bar which estranges us from one another. In this resolve, may we be strengthened, knowing that we are family, that one Spirit, the Spirit of love, unites us, and that we endeavor for a more perfect and more joyful life. So may it be.
And now let us move into an attitude of stillness and meditation with these words borrowed from David Bombau. Excuse me. Say what you will about the economy of life or the serious nature of evolution. Flowers are irrefutable proof of nature's extravagance. Everywhere you look, in every nook and cranny, during this season of life, the flowers are there. Spilling down a bank from a shopping mall parking lot, buttercups display a shower of gold for drivers who speed by too quickly to grasp the glory poured out freely for all to see. Along forest paths, in dark and shaded lanes, where few people ever walk, under tall trees, purple and white flowers on tall stalks proclaim the glory of life. In vacant fields where not even a worn path exists to suggest human passage, white daisies mimic the sun high in the sky, creating on earth a semblance of heaven's glory. So long as the sun is strong, the flowers come and bloom for their season and are replaced by others. Crocus to daffodil, to tulip, azalea to dogwood to rhododendron, lilac to peony, to iris to rose, daisy to chicory, to aster, to goldenrod, one after another, filling our world with a riot of color, with beauty we cannot create or earn or deserve. The daisies come despite us and stake their claim in parking lots and ballparks and hidden corners. Even some of the tamed flowers occasionally burst through generations of conditioning, and a prim tulip suddenly appears all alone under a tree where a tulip has no business being. And a clump of iris makes a home in the forest preserve. The flowers you see do not bloom for us. They do not care whether or not we see them. They grow and bloom because they are full of life, because the history of the species impels them to display their glory, not to the world, but as part of the world, because the world would be incomplete without the riot of blossoms which expresses nature's voiceless joy in life. It is true that flowers are fragile. Their lives are short. Sometimes a wildflower taken from its root by a small, hot hand does not survive to reach the kitchen door. Even when left to live out its cycle, the flower is soon gone. reminding us that nature knows nothing of permanence, that our lives, like that of the flower, are only a part of an endless cycle, of many endless cycles. Perhaps that is why we love flowers, with a bittersweet love. We too can bloom. Let us take a time of silence together.
Light the candles. While she's doing that, I have to say, the fragrance of this beautiful display is almost intoxicating. It is just heavenly. So later you'll get a chance to experience it also. The flower ceremony, sometimes referred to as a flower communion or flower festival, is an annual ritual that celebrates beauty, human uniqueness, diversity, and community. 101 years ago, Norbert Čapek wanted a ceremony to unify his diverse congregation in Czechoslovakia. The Prague Liberal Religious Fellowship he had founded. He turned to the beauty of the countryside, to the beauty of flowers. He asked his congregants to bring a flower from their gardens, the fields, or the roadside. He invited each person to place their flower in a vase, as we have done today. There is the church community, united in diversity. Following the service, each person could take a flower different from the one they had brought, as we will also do today. This simple service was such a success that it was held yearly. The flower ceremony was introduced to the United States around 1940 by Norbert Čapek's wife, the Reverend Maya Čapek. The significance of the flower communion is that no two flowers are alike. So, no two people are alike. Yet each has a contribution to make. Together, the different flowers form a beautiful bouquet. Our common bouquet would not be the same without the unique addition of each individual flower, and so it is with our Live Oak community. It would not be the same without each and every one of us. By exchanging flowers, we also show our willingness to walk together in our search for truth, disregarding all that might divide us. Each person takes home a flower brought by someone else, symbolizing our shared celebration in community.
So here at Live Oak, we've chosen to use this Sunday to honor Čapek's flower communion. Why did we do that? Well, undoubtedly, it is in conversation with Easter. Right? The Christian story is that Jesus gathered in an upstairs room for a Passover supper with his followers. He knew that he was destined to be arrested and put to death, but he wanted those disciples to carry on with their important work. And so he proposed a ritual for them, one that would make them feel more connected to him and to each other. A ritual of sharing bread and wine which would keep his memory alive. I try to put myself in the place of one of those followers, how it would feel to sit at such a table. It's a moment of impending tragedy. You wouldn't know of what the miracle that would follow, and it could only have been unimaginably gut-wrenching moment of grief and despair. And so Jesus offered them a token to remind them that new things are coming, that there is hope, and that what they had done together wasn't finished. The Christian disciples would come to see it as the start of a miracle. And the Christian calendar celebrates on Easter the good news of resurrection and the continuation, beyond what might have seemed to be an end. And so we too this morning celebrate new beginnings, but of course, stubbornly in our own way, telling our own stories. So we celebrate not a Last Supper, but the miracle of spring and the blossoming of flowers. Each of these flowers that is placed here is shown to you, is a song of the beauty that you found, a song of the love in our heart, and each of these songs is all the more precious as it is joined with every other song, each instrument playing together in a symphony. And we need this, because every day seems to be a constant high wire act. We are trying to build something. A worship service, a community, a movement, but we feel like we don't have quite enough. My own contribution is offered with generosity, but I can't help but feel like it's just a drop in the bucket. I by myself am not enough for whatever I think I am doing. But when my single flower is joined by flowers from all of us, then something amazing happens. We together have built something beautiful. Just as we each contribute our gifts and talents to this congregation and this community, it isn't only to see what amazing things we can build, and it isn't because there is one great benefactor out there who will fix everything for the rest of us. It is the mystery that although we feel alone and separate, we are all connected by our desire to come together as one and create something bigger and more beautiful than we could manage on our own. If you're thinking that you haven't done enough, that you haven't really done anything, you may have arrived this morning having forgotten your flower, or maybe it was just too much today. There are Sundays when it's a lot to ask for us to just get our shoes tied. Maybe there just isn't any more to give. But this altar wasn't built by the farmer's market or Trader Joe's. It is built one by one, each of us offering up the extent of their gifts today. Our intention is that by placing whatever seed is within us, whatever small dream we have, when we arrange them all together, we can see it. Look, the beauty we can create together. For those of you on Zoom, I'm going to ask Michael to put up the grid of cameras once again in the sanctuary. And if you have a flower with you, then you can turn on your camera and hold it up so that we can all see it. In this way, adding to the beauty that we are creating together. Let's bless these flowers, these songs, these seeds of what will blossom. Let's fill them with our intentions to bring ourselves together to create beauty, compassion, and love. Let's breathe together, our eyes on the flowers that we have gathered. Breathing in, breathing out, we breathe out love. Breathing in, breathing out, our breath joins all of the Spirit here gathered with those watching from afar. Our light shines down to celebrate this gathering. Breathing in, breathing out, we bless these flowers with our song that it may be heard all throughout and beyond. May it be so. The final act of our communion this morning is to share out this bowl of light. So each of you will be invited to come forward and to take with you a new flower, a new song to fill your heart. Now, if you didn't bring a flower with you this morning, then by all means come up and take two. So I invite you, as Kevin plays some music, to approach the altar.